Hey everybody, Nathan Ronen, CFA here with another update for those candidates who are primarily sitting for the Level 1 program in terms of the question I'm going to ask, but people who are taking the Level 2 or Level 3 exam might want to listen as well, or if you're a potential candidate to program, you definitely want to listen to see how do CFA exam questions get constructed. Okay, if you'd like to learn more about this, please press the subscribe button now and the notifications bell so that you can continue to receive my updates on a weekly or bi-weekly basis as I post them here on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever else my marketing people put it. Nathan, can you elaborate a little bit? I know you always say that the CFA Institute, when they create their exam questions at all levels, tends to integrate the concepts, integrate the learning outcome statements, integrate the readings. How do they do that? That's a great question, and so I'm going to try to demonstrate it for you using a Level 1 topic called the holding period return. Let's say on the Level 1 exam, they asked you a question. Now, this is not an actual question. I don't know the actual questions on the exam, but let's say they asked you the following question. An investor purchases a stock at $104, and on January 1st, 2000 X1, and then they sell the stock 2 years later at 100, okay, meaning on December 31st X2, and each year they get a $3 dividend on the stock. So they get a $3 dividend in year one, $3 dividend in year two. And you're asked to calculate or come up with or compute the annualized holding period return. Now, your choices are A, 0.83%, B, 0.96%, or C, 1.92%. You can put me on pause if you like and come up with an answer and then come back. You could just watch this again and just put the number, jot down the information, and you should get an answer of B, 0.96%. Okay, if you got A or C, you want to listen on definitely. If you got 0.96%, you should still listen on, because this is how they integrate concepts or take the questions to the next level. The question that I asked was not what is the holding period return. What you were asked is the annualized holding period return. So that's what they do on the CFA exam. Number one, they make sure that you answer the exact question that you're being asked. Okay, so the way you would do this is, if you got 1.92%, you just calculated the holding period return over the 2 years. You did not come up with the annualized holding period return, which is what did the investor actually get each year of those 2 years on an annualized basis, which means taking into account like interest on reinvesting. So the way you would do this, you'd say, okay, I know the holding period return. That was in my readings. P1 minus P0 over P0. That's the holding period return. But wait a second, there are cash flows here. Dividend 1 and dividend 2. So the way you calculate this would be P1, or in this case P2 minus P0, plus each of the dividends, 3 and 3, over the original price of 104. So if you take 100 minus 104 plus 3, and divide by 104, the original price that you paid, you would get, assuming no taxes and no transaction costs, a return, a holding period return over that 2-year period of 1.92%. Ka-jing, C, move on. Wrong. The question was not asking you for the holding period return, it was asking you for the annualized holding period return. So it went a little bit beyond just the holding period return calculation that you see in the curriculum, or you might see as an end of chapter question. So how do you take that 1.92% and put it on an annualized basis, since 1.92% was earned over 2 years? Well, you might want to divide by 2 and get an answer, and you, again, will choose the wrong answer. That's not an annualized number. So what you need to do is you need to take that 1.92%, okay, convert it to a decimal, which would be 0.0192, add 1 to it, so you get 1.0192, and then you got to say, well, that's over a 2-year basis, so I'm almost going to take the square root of that, or raise it to the 0.5, so you can Exponent-wise, raise it to the 0.5 or take the square root, and then whatever answer you get, you subtract 1. You added 1, so you subtract 1, and you would get 0.96%. Okay? That is what you should get as your answer. So what they did in that question, if you're not catching on, is they asked you a question based on a formula that's in your reading, but then they integrated another concept from the annualization process, which is talked about throughout the curriculum, to see if you can bring them together. Well, Nathan, I got that question right. Anything else you could say that they would do? Sure. I always tell people, in the level 1 program, you're learning about currency exchange rates in economics. You're learning about forwards and futures in derivatives. They can integrate it together, give you a scenario, and say, hey, does the candidate know the difference between a forward and a futures contract? Number 1. Number 2, does the candidate know whether they're buying or selling the asset? Number 3, do they know which currency they're going to be delivering or buying or selling? And number 4, do they know which exchange rate to use and how to manipulate it if necessary? Do they understand what's in the numerator, what's in the denominator? So the answers will be buy the Mexican pesos at $1.15 per peso, or sell the Mexican peso at 2.20 Mexican pesos per dollar. I mean, they're going to play with this. And what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, if a candidate understands exchange rates and they understand derivatives, they should be able to mix them together and get the right answer. And then that's going to help them at level 2 and level 3 when they're learning about currency management or managing the risk in a portfolio using currencies. So you've got to be ready for this all the time. If you're just doing end of chapter questions, if you're just doing linear questions right out of the book, right after and you're getting 15 out of 16 questions right, you're not really adequately preparing for your level 1 exam or even your level 2 exam. That is exactly what I focus on in my programs. If you're interested, check out my website. Give me a call, text me, email me. My email address, my phone number is there. I want to make sure that you are not doing retakes. You don't need pass protection because you shouldn't be sitting for an exam multiple times. You should be studying correctly, having instructor support, instructor access, and passing on your first try. Shouldn't have to retake exams, and definitely shouldn't be doing multi-year exams, taking it for multiple years. That's an insurance policy you just don't really need. Okay? So if you're interested, reach out. Happy to help you out, and thanks for listening. Have a good day.